But the fact of it is that politicians have now left behind the job of politicians entirely, right? There's nothing going on in Washington. There's no news. All this week, all these last few weeks, there was a little news. There might be some news out of Iran or something like this, but that went away. There has been no news, right? But that is an indication of the fact that Donald Trump is doing a good job, right? How good a president, you are a great president if there's no news, because news are disasters and terrible things that happen. So things are going well. And while there's no news, we are in this complete television show. And yesterday we were talking about this. It was just happening minutes before I came on the air. Trump goes into this, what's going to be this infrastructure meeting, which is a difficult subject because everybody knows we need it. Nobody knows how to fund it. The Democrats, of course, just want to tax and tax and tax, because the more you tax people, the more power the government has. Trump isn't going to be able to pull that off with his base. He's made noises about a public-private coalition of funders, but it's never been established what that's going to be. Moments before, Nancy Pelosi comes out of a meeting where she's under pressure from her left to start impeachment proceedings against Trump. She knows, because she's an old political hand, she knows that that is not a good political idea. But she's got to do something, so she comes out and she's sounding tougher. That's what she's doing. She's sounding tougher. It's all show. It's don't put any moral meaning on this, either on our side, on Trump's side, on the conservative side. No moral meaning. No moral meaning on the left. All show. It is all display. It is all what they think, which television show you think they think you're going to want to watch for the next 4 years. All right. So Trump goes in and he walks into this infrastructure meeting. She comes out first and she says, oh, he's in a cover up. That's her first remark, right? Because she has to now sound tough to appease her left without getting them to push her into an impeachment proceeding she thinks is a bad idea. He comes out and he says, I blew up the meeting. So here's Trump telling them all they can go screw.
I just wanted to let you know that I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, I want to do infrastructure. I want to do it more than you want to do it. I'd be really good at that. That's what I do. But you know what? You can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with.
Okay, so that's his thing, and he has a card that shows how much the investigations have cost everybody. And so Chuck Schumer makes the most interesting complaint in the world, because while these guys are putting on this television show, which is all it is, Trump knows what he's doing. He's a reality TV star. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's putting on a show. He knows we're all sick of these investigations. Congress is doing nothing. They are doing nothing for the country. And he knows it. He feels that that's going to work for him. Here's Schumer's argument, which is really fascinating.
We are interested in doing infrastructure. It's clear the president isn't. He is looking for every excuse, whether it was let's do trade first, or whether it was he's not going to pay for any funding, or whether today that there are investigations going on. Hello? There were investigations going on 3 weeks ago when we met. Exactly. And he still met with us. But now that he was forced to actually say how he'd pay for it, he had to run away. And he came up with this pre-planned excuse. And one final point. It's clear that this was not a spontaneous move on the president's part. It was planned. When we got in the room, the curtains were closed. The president, there was a place for him at the front so he could stand and attempt to tell us why he wouldn't do infrastructure. And, of course, then he went to the Rose Garden with prepared signs that had been printed up long before our meeting.
Gonna guard you, Dad. Hey, Mama's boy. I bet you're gonna cry. Come on, Mama's boy. Let's see you cry. Come on.
Sorry, we just have to play that when Crying Chuck is on. But the thing about Schumer is, what's he complaining about? He's complaining about the fact that this wasn't spontaneous. It was all show, okay? The Democrats have now been in power in the House since January. What have they done that has not been a show? Name one thing they've done that has not been a show. Ever since the Mueller report came out, they've just been kind of trying to get people to to ignore the fact that there was no collusion with the Russians. Trump is absolutely right about this. Every word that Trump said is true. Every word you heard on MSNBC and NBC and CNN, all that was false. So now they're trying to create this obstruction of justice idea that also was not in the report. It's all been show. It has all been show. So again, he's complaining that Trump is putting on a show. He's right. Trump is putting on a show. But what he's really complaining about is he's complaining that Trump has stolen the monopoly of show business from the left. Because up until this time, their domination of the news media and the entertainment media has been so complete that the Republicans couldn't put on a show. That's why you had guys pointing at charts and and Trump isn't doing any of that. He is just putting on his show, his version of the show, and the media has no choice. He is the president. They've got to cover it. So they are essentially helping him to put on the show. That is what Chuck Schumer is complaining about. So the one who is really good at this, I have to say, is Nancy Pelosi. You know, you have to give credit, give the devil her due, and it is the devil, and it is her due. She is a screaming bitch. I have to say, she is so good at it. If you ever listen to the way she talks, especially about men and especially about macho men like Trump, she goes right for the groin. Trump may think because he's a celebrity, he can grab women by the crotch, but she goes teeth first at any man's crotch. She does. Listen to what she says.
We had hoped that we could give this president an opportunity to have a signature infrastructure initiative to create jobs, to improve the quality of life, to just do so much for our country on the ongoing, not only the jobs it created by building, but the commerce it would promote. And that included roads and bridges and mass transit, broadband into rural America and other underserved areas, clean water, wastewater, all of the things that have enormous needs. The American Society of Civil Engineers says it's in the trillions, the deficit we have. We're talking about a couple $2 billion. For some reason, maybe it was lack of confidence on his part that he really couldn't match the greatness of the challenge that we have. Wasn't really respectful of the Congress and the White House working together. He just took a pass, and it just makes me wonder why he did that. In any event, I pray for the President of the United States, and I pray for the United States of America.
He just didn't have the confidence to live up to the challenge. She always does this, and she does it especially with Trump, but she's just absolutely plain and open about it. She just goes after his manhood all the time. He doesn't have any confidence. He's not up to the challenge. And, you know, what's funny about it is even if you listen to them, they're telling two different stories. Either he's a coward or he's putting on a show. Either he can't do the challenge or he's just playing a game with them. You know, he's just playing up something. I mean, I guess their whole thing is that he's playing this game because he's afraid, he doesn't know how to fund it or whatever. He's doing it for the same reason they're investigating him. He thinks the people will like his show better than they like her show and Schumer's show. And by the way, the fact that the left-wing media has lost its monopoly on setting the narrative, that Trump has stolen it away from them, it is what drives them insane. They can talk about he's a dictator. They can talk about he's a sexist. They can talk about it a racist. All the fantasies they've been trying to sell, that's not what bothers them. What bothers them is he is just as good as establishing a narrative as they are. That's what drives them crazy. On MSNBC, and that's the left-wing station, so I don't pick on them for that. They're openly left-wing. But all they're doing now is just spewing insults. Here's a montage from Newsbusters. They're just throwing insults at him.
He is incapable of making a deal. He's just no good at it. He stinks at it. Just the worst deal maker that's ever sat in the Oval Office.
Like this whole thing yesterday looked ridiculous. It was like a kid's play that was set up by a bunch of bumbling idiots. The president set this up, acted like a complete idiot.
You know, Eddie, the country's on some level become numb to this circus that we watch every day. But this was an extraordinary day, even by that measure. Just the word that keeps coming back to my mind is pathetic.
On one level, really, you're right, it's pathetic. On another level, it's quite dangerous.
It's pathetic. It's stupid. It's dangerous and idiot, incompetent. It's all. What is it? Because he is doing their job better than they are. And see it so much today or yesterday, I guess, talking about the news. Michael Avenatti, the attorney, right, who was defending Stormy Daniels, he has now been, federal prosecutors now say that he used a doctored document to steal $300,000 from that Stormy Daniels was supposed to be paid for her book deal. So here's this guy who just the other day, basically, CNN had on, I think they had him on 120 times in the course of 2 years, 120 times. They had Avenatti on. They were talking about him being president. They were talking about him destroying Donald Trump. Now this guy is stealing from a stripper. He's stealing money from a stripper. That is what he's doing. A woman who you don't even remember, right? That narrative is gone now. That was everything. That was, oh, the woman, what a hero this stripper was because she slept with a guy and then broke her, her agreement not to talk about it. I mean, now that is reality. So the narrative is just gone. The other one is, what's his name? Northam in Virginia. They just did this study, a law firm investigating. Remember, he was the guy who did this thing in blackface. But then it turned out that both the guys under him had also scandals, so that if he went down, a Republican would take over the state. So suddenly blackface was fine. Go ahead and do blackface. This is a guy who literally, Northam, in an interview, somebody said, could you do a moon dance? And he was just about to break into a moon dance when his wife said, don't do that, don't do that. I literally thought he was going to say, does anybody have any shoe polish I can black up? I mean, this guy, it was the real deal. And now suddenly they're saying, we can't decide. There was a study, a law firm working for the medical school where the picture was, it was in his medical school yearbook, says we can't determine it was him. He admitted it was him, then he changed his mind and said it wasn't him. But I mean, it's just like reality catches up with you after a while, but it's just all show. And it gets dark, it gets dark if you follow this path into all, where everything is show business. Let me just end, because I want to get to our guest, Evan Sayet. Let me just end with, one of the guys becoming one of my heroes is John Kennedy of Louisiana, who just speaks the truth. Senator John Kennedy, he just basically says, if you're going to impeach the president, don't make a show of it, just do it. It's the first cut.
I don't know what the president's motivation is. It could be Machiavellian. It could be he's just frustrated. And I understand why he's frustrated. I think that some, I don't want to speak with too broad a brush, but some members of the House leadership, they're just toying with him. I meant what I said. They need to urinate and get off the pot. Go ahead and impeach him. If you think he deserves to be impeached, he won't be convicted in the Senate. But stop toying him. And you say, well, they're in good faith. Some have said that. Well, maybe some. But let me give you an example, Chuck. The House Ways and Means chairman, he says, I got to see Trump's tax returns because it'll help me evaluate how well the IRS conducts audits. Right. And Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes. Nobody believes that. So what I tell my House leadership friends, look, either impeach him or go ahead and hold every member of the Trump administration in contempt, and let's get it in the court, and so we can get back to work. And let me say one other thing. I was equally critical of my Republican colleagues in the Senate, because we can do more, too.
He told both of them. He said, get going. Let's do stuff for the people. That is the voice of reality. It's going to be really interesting as 2020 comes close, whether we're going to vote for reality or vote for this show. Donald Trump has done what he thought was necessary, but where his talents lie are in creating a narrative to counter the narrative of the left. But I just hope the people are paying attention, like Candace Owens, paying attention to how we're really living right now, as opposed to how we were living under Obama, and as opposed to this ambience, this atmosphere, this television show that Washington, D.C. has now become.